When Elon Musk showed up at his ex-wife's biggest night holding a small gift box, he never expected to be locked out in the rain. Security blocked the door. His name wasn't on the list. Through the glass, he could see her laughing with guests, looking beautiful in an emerald dress. Then she saw him. Her smile disappeared. She turned her back and walked away. The message was clear: she didn't want him there. Most people would have left, driven home, given up. But Elon pulled out his phone and made one call. Just 11 words. "Marcus, I need you to do something for me. 11 minutes. What happened next shocked everyone inside that gallery. The lights started flickering. Then everything went dark. Fire alarms screamed through the building. Sprinklers exploded from the ceiling, soaking expensive dresses and priceless artwork. 200 people scrambled for the exits in total chaos. His ex-wife stood in the rain, watching 3 years of hard work wash away. Her dream exhibition was destroyed. When she saw Elon running toward her through the emergency vehicles, she knew. Somehow he'd done this. He'd ruined everything. She screamed at him in the rain, called him selfish, asked him why he would destroy the one good thing she'd built since their marriage fell apart. But Elon's answer changed everything. What really happened in those 11 minutes? Why did Elon shut down the entire venue? And what was inside that gift box he'd been carrying? This is the story of a love that started with spilled champagne and ended in heartbreak. A story about promises broken, lessons learned too late, and one rainy night that revealed the truth about everything. Stay with me until the end, because what you think happened isn't what actually happened at all. And the real reason Elon came to that gallery that night. It'll break your heart. Let me take you back to where it all began. The rain came down in sheets that Thursday evening, turning the streets of downtown Austin into rivers of light. Elon Musk sat in the back of his Tesla, watching the drops race down the window. In his hands, he held a small gift box wrapped in blue paper. The paper was getting wrinkled from how tightly he gripped it. "We're here, sir," his driver Marcus said gently. Elon looked up. Through the rain-blurred window, he could see the Starlight Gallery. It was beautiful tonight. White lights twinkled along the entrance. Well-dressed people laughed and talked as they walked inside. Music drifted out every time the doors opened. Somewhere in there was Isabel. "Thank you, Marcus." Elon stepped out into the rain. He didn't bother with an umbrella. The cold water felt good, real. It reminded him he was still human, still capable of feeling something. He walked toward the entrance, his simple black suit getting soaked. The gift box stayed protected under his jacket. Some things were too important to let get wet. 2 security guards stood at the door. They wore black uniforms and serious expressions. As Elon approached, they both stepped forward, blocking his path. "Good evening," Elon said quietly. "I'm here for the exhibition." The head of security, a tall woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back tight, tapped on her tablet. Her name tag read Ms. Cordova. She looked at the screen, then at Elon, then back at the screen. "Mr. Musk," she said. Her voice was professional but firm. "I'm sorry, sir. Your name isn't on the guest list." Elon felt something twist in his chest. There must be a mistake. Could you check again? Ms. Cordova's expression softened slightly. She checked her tablet once more, but Elon could tell she already knew the answer. "I've checked twice, sir. Ms. Chen specifically requested that you not be allowed entry tonight." The words hit harder than Elon expected. He knew things were bad between them. He knew Isabel was angry, but being officially banned, having his name specifically marked as unwelcome, that was different, that was final. "I see," Elon said. His voice came out smaller than he intended. Through the glass doors, he could see into the gallery. The walls were covered with artwork, bright paintings, powerful photographs, sculptures that seemed to dance in the light. Young artists stood nervously next to their creations, hoping someone would notice their work. This was Isabel's dream brought to life. And there she was. Isabel Chen Musk, though she'd probably dropped the Musk by now, stood in the center of the room. She wore an emerald green dress that made her look like something from a painting herself. Her dark hair was swept up, showing the graceful curve of her neck. She was laughing at something a guest said, her whole face bright with joy. Elon's heart ached just looking at her. As if sensing his gaze, Isabel glanced toward the entrance. Her eyes met his through the glass. For 1 second, just one, Elon saw something flicker across her face. Surprise, pain, longing. Then her smile disappeared. She turned away, deliberately putting her back to him. A guest asked her a question and she answered, animated and alive, as if Elon wasn't standing 10 feet away, soaked and shut out in the rain. "Sir." Ms. Cordova's voice pulled him back. I really am sorry, but I have my orders. I understand. Elon pulled the gift box from under his jacket. It was still dry, still perfect. Could you at least give her this? It's important, please. Ms. Cordova looked at the box, then at Elon's face. Whatever she saw there made her expression soften even more. Sir, I can't accept items for Ms. Chen. Security protocol, but she paused. I can tell her you were here if you'd like. She already knows, Elon said quietly. He stood there for another moment, feeling foolish. What had he expected? That Isabel would see him and run into his arms. That 3 years of pain could be erased by showing up uninvited. A young couple brushed past him, laughing as they hurried inside out of the rain. They didn't even glance at him. To them, he was just another man standing in the rain. Not a billionaire, not a CEO, just a man who wasn't allowed inside. Elon looked at the gift box in his hands. Inside was something precious, something Isabel needed to see. But it didn't matter how important it was if she wouldn't let him through the door. He pulled out his phone. Water droplets spattered on the screen as he scrolled through his contacts. He found the number he needed and pressed call. Marcus, he said when someone answered. Not Marcus, his driver, Marcus Rodriguez, fire chief and old friend. I need you to do something for me. Elon, what's wrong? I need you to trust me. I'll explain later, but I need you to act fast. 11 minutes, that's all I need. Can you do it? There was a pause on the other end. 11 minutes for what? I'll send you the details right now. Please, Marcus, it's important. All right, I trust you. Send me what you need. Elon hung up and quickly typed out a message. His fingers shook slightly. From cold or emotion, he wasn't sure. Maybe both. He sent the message. Then he looked up one last time at the gallery, at the lights and the art and the people. At Isabel, who was showing a young artist's work to an interested collector, her hands gesturing excitedly. She had built this. She had taken her pain and her dreams and created something beautiful that helped other people. This exhibition wasn't just about art. It was about giving voice to young people from poor neighborhoods, kids who thought no one cared about their stories, just like Isabel had once been, just like Elon had once been. Goodbye, Izzy, he whispered, though she couldn't possibly hear him. Then Elon turned and walked back to his car. Rain poured down his face, mixing with something else he wouldn't admit was there. He got in the backseat and checked his watch. 11 minutes. The clock started ticking. Inside the gallery, Isabel tried to focus on her guests. She smiled and thanked people for coming. She introduced artists and explained their work. She did everything she was supposed to do, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Seeing Elon at the door had brought everything rushing back. 3 years of trying to forget. 3 years of building a new life without him. 3 years of telling herself she was better off alone. All of it crumbled the moment she saw his face through the glass. Ms. Chen. Her assistant Priya appeared at her elbow. Are you all right? You look pale. I'm fine, Isabel lied. Just excited, big night. Priya didn't look convinced. I saw him at the door. Do you want me to call additional security? Make sure he doesn't try to come back. No, Isabel's voice came out sharper than she meant. She softened it. No, that won't be necessary. He won't cause trouble. That's not who he is. If you're sure. I'm sure. But Isabel wasn't sure about anything anymore. Not since the moment she'd looked up and seen Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men in the world, standing in the rain like a lost child, holding something in his hands, looking at her like she was the only thing that mattered. She hated that she still cared what he looked like, still noticed that he'd lost weight, that there were new lines around his eyes, that he looked tired in a way that went deeper than just lack of sleep. She hated that part of her. A small, traitorous part had wanted to run to the door, to let him in, to hear what he had to say. Ms. Chen, an excited young artist named Tamaz, pulled her toward his sculpture. The gallery director wants to buy my piece. Can you believe it? Isabel pushed thoughts of Elon away. This was what mattered, this moment, these artists, this dream she'd built from nothing. I absolutely can believe it, she told Tamaz, giving him a genuine smile. Your work is extraordinary. She wouldn't let Elon Musk ruin this night. She'd spent 3 years learning to be happy without him. 3 years building something that was entirely hers. She was fine. She was absolutely fine. Outside in his car, Elon checked his watch again. 5 minutes left. Inside the Starlight Gallery, Isabel laughed at a guest's joke, unaware that everything was about to change. 3 minutes. Ms. Cordova did her rounds, checking exits, making sure everything ran smoothly. 1 minute. Elon closed his eyes. "Please let this work," he whispered to no one. 30 seconds. Inside the gallery, the lights flickered just once. So brief that most people didn't notice. Isabel noticed. She looked up at the ceiling, a strange feeling creeping over her. The lights flickered again. Then everything went dark. The emergency lights kicked in, bathing the starlight gallery in eerie red. Someone screamed. Glass shattered as a guest bumped into a sculpture. Isabel's heart pounded in her chest. "Everyone stay calm." Ms. Cordova's voice cut through the rising panic. "Please remain where you are. This is likely just a power issue." But then the fire alarm began to wail. The sound was deafening, relentless, filling every corner of the gallery. The emergency lights strobed in rhythm with the alarm. "This is not a drill," Ms. Cordova shouted. "Everyone move toward the main exits in an orderly fashion. Do not run." Isabel stood frozen for a moment, watching her perfect night dissolve into chaos. Then training kicked in. She began helping guide people toward the doors, her voice steady even though her hands still shook. "Stay together, watch your step, help anyone who needs it." That's when the sprinklers activated. Water erupted from the ceiling in torrents, cold, forceful, soaking everything in seconds. Guests shrieked and covered their heads. Isabel's heart shattered as she watched water cascade over the artwork, paintings, photographs, sculptures that young artists had poured their souls into. "The art," she cried out. "We have to protect the art." "Ms. Chen, we need to evacuate now." Priya grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the exit. But Isabel couldn't leave. 3 years of work, months of planning this specific night. These kids had trusted her with their dreams, and now those dreams were being destroyed by water and panic. She pulled away from Priya and ran to a nearby painting, a beautiful portrait by a 16-year-old girl from East Austin. Isabel yanked it off the wall and held it against her chest, trying to shield it with her body. Other guests saw what she was doing. Some helped, grabbing artwork and carrying it toward the doors. Others just ran, desperate to get out. Through the chaos and the alarm and the water, Isabel worked frantically. Save what she could, protect what mattered. Don't let this night end in total disaster. Fire trucks arrived outside, their sirens adding to the noise. Then police cars. Flashing lights painted the street in red and blue. Finally, Ms. Cordova physically pulled Isabel toward the exit. "Ms. Chen, the building must be completely evacuated. That includes you, now." Isabel stumbled outside into the rain, clutching 3 paintings against her chest. Her emerald dress was ruined, soaked through with sprinkler water and rain. Her carefully styled hair hung in wet strands around her face. Mascara ran down her cheeks. Other guests stood on the sidewalk, equally drenched, looking confused and frightened. Some were crying. The young artists looked devastated. Isabel wanted to comfort them, to tell them everything would be okay, but she couldn't speak. Her throat was tight with unshed tears. 3 years of work gone in minutes. She scanned the crowd looking for. She didn't even know what help, answers. That's when she saw him. Elon was running toward her, not away from the chaos, but toward her. He still had that gift box tucked under his jacket, protected from the rain. Their eyes met across the wet pavement, and suddenly Isabel knew. She didn't know how, but she knew. "What did you do?" The words came out broken, barely audible over the fire trucks and rain. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. To understand this moment, to understand why Isabel's heart broke all over again when she saw Elon running toward her, we need to go back. Back to the beginning. Back to 3 years earlier when everything was different. When they were different. 3 years earlier. Ballroom at the Four Seasons sparkled with wealth and good intentions. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over men in tuxedos and women in designer gowns. A string quartet played softly in the corner. Waiters glided through the crowd carrying trays of champagne and tiny, expensive appetizers. It was a charity fundraiser for children's hospitals. The kind of event where rich people paid $1,000 a plate to feel good about themselves, while eating food most people couldn't afford to look at. Isabel Chen didn't belong there. She knew it. Everyone knew it. Her dress was from a thrift store, carefully altered to fit. Her shoes were borrowed from her roommate. She didn't even have a ticket. She was working the event. At 26, Isabel had 2 jobs. During the day, she was an assistant curator at a small community arts center. At night and on weekends, she worked for a catering company. Tonight, she was supposed to be serving drinks, smiling politely and being invisible. She'd been doing fine until she turned around with a full tray of champagne and walked straight into someone. Time seemed to slow down. She watched in horror as 12 glasses of expensive champagne flew through the air. Most of them crashed to the floor in an explosion of glass and liquid. One of them doused the jacket of the man she bumped into. Isabel's heart stopped. The man was tall, wearing an obviously expensive tuxedo that was now dripping with champagne. His hair was slightly messy in that way that probably took effort to achieve. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept properly in weeks. "Oh my God," Isabel gasped. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She grabbed napkins from her tray and started frantically dabbing at his jacket, making it worse. The champagne spread across the fabric. Her hands shook. "I'll pay for the cleaning. I'll pay for everything. I'm so sorry, sir. Please don't tell my manager. I need this job. I'm so..." "Hey," the man's voice was gentle. He caught her hand, stopping her frantic dabbing. "Hey, it's okay. It's just champagne. And this tuxedo was uncomfortable anyway." Isabel finally looked up at his face, and that's when she recognized him. Elon Musk, billionaire, CEO of multiple companies, one of the most famous people in the world, and she just dumped an entire tray of champagne on him. Her face went from pale to bright red. "Oh no, oh no, no, no." But Elon was smiling, not a polite fake smile, a real one. His eyes crinkled at the corners. He looked amused, delighted. "I'm Elon," he said, as if she didn't know, as if he was just a normal person at a party. "I know who you are," Isabel whispered. "Everyone knows who you are, and your jacket, I'm so sorry. I'm more concerned about you." Elon glanced down at the broken glasses scattered across the floor. "Are you hurt? Did any of the glass get you?" Isabel blinked. He was worried about her. "No, I'm fine, but your jacket." "Forget the jacket." Elon shrugged out of it and tossed it onto a nearby chair. He rolled up the sleeves of his white shirt. "There, much better. I hate these formal things anyway." Isabel's manager appeared, his face red with fury. "Chen, what have you done? Mr. Musk, I am so sorry. She'll be fired immediately. Security will escort her." "She'll be nothing of the sort," Elon interrupted. His voice stayed gentle but gained an edge of steel. "It was an accident. Accidents happen. She's apologized. We're good." The manager sputtered, "But sir, the mess. I'll personally cover any cleaning costs. Now, if you'll excuse us, the lady and I were having a conversation." He turned back to Isabel, completely dismissing the manager. After a moment of shocked silence, the manager hurried away to deal with the broken glass. "You didn't have to do that," Isabel said quietly. "I did ruin your jacket. You did me a favor. I've been looking for an excuse to leave this party for an hour. Too many people wanting to talk about money, and not enough people who actually care about the kids we're supposedly here to help." Isabel studied him. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes ran deeper than just one sleepless night. This was bone-deep weariness, but there was something else too, a spark of genuine interest as he looked at her. "What's your name?" he asked. Isabel Chen." "Well, Isabel Chen, since you've liberated me from my uncomfortable jacket, the least you can do is tell me what someone who clearly doesn't want to be at this party is doing here." Despite everything, Isabel felt herself smile. "I work here. I'm a server." "That's what you do tonight." "I asked what you're doing here." "Paying rent, student loans, trying to save enough money to fund my actual career." "Which is?" "Art curator. I work at a community center during the day, teaching art classes to kids who can't afford regular lessons. This," she gestured at the ballroom, "this pays better." Something shifted in Elon's expression. The interest became something more. "You work with kids?" "Yeah, kids from rough neighborhoods, foster kids, kids whose parents work 3 jobs and can't afford after-school programs." Isabel's voice grew passionate. "Art gave me hope when I was growing up poor. I want to give that to other kids." That's really beautiful." Elon's voice was soft. "Tell me more." And somehow, impossibly, they ended up at a small table in the corner of the ballroom. Elon grabbed 2 plates of food from a passing waiter. They talked and talked, the party continuing around them but feeling far away. Isabel told him about growing up in a tiny apartment in San Francisco, raised by a single mother who cleaned houses and office buildings. About how her mother worked 16-hour days so Isabel could have art supplies. About discovering that she could create whole worlds with just paper and paint when the real world felt too hard. Elon opened up too, in a way that surprised them both. He talked about his own difficult childhood in South Africa, about being bullied so badly he ended up in the hospital, about feeling different alone, like his brain worked in ways other people didn't understand. Everyone thinks having money solves everything, Elon admitted, staring at his untouched champagne. But you can be surrounded by millions of people and still feel completely alone. You can achieve everything you dreamed of and still wake up wondering if any of it matters. Isabel reached across the table and touched his hand, just briefly, just enough. Maybe you've been looking for connection in the wrong places, she said softly. Elon looked at her, really looked at her. Maybe I have. They talked for 3 more hours. The party wound down around them. Guests left. The string quartet packed up. Waiters cleaned tables. Neither Elon nor Isabel noticed. They talked about space and art and what it means to be human, about childhood dreams and adult responsibilities, about loneliness and hope and the strange courage it takes to keep trying when the world feels too big. Finally, Isabel's manager approached hesitantly. Ms. Chen, we're closing down for the night. Isabel glanced around, surprised to see the ballroom nearly empty. Oh, I didn't realize. I'll make sure she gets home safely, Elon said, standing. Outside, the night air was cool. Elon's driver pulled up in a Tesla, but before they got in, Elon turned to Isabel. Can I see you again? He asked. Not at a party, not with all these people, just us. Isabel knew she should say no. This man lived in a completely different world. This was probably just entertainment for him. Talk to the interesting poor girl, feel momentarily inspired, then return to his real life. But there was something in his eyes, something genuine and vulnerable and hopeful. Yes, she heard herself say. I'd like that. Elon smiled, that real smile again. Tomorrow, there's a small art exhibit downtown. Very small, very not fancy. Would you show me? You want to go to a tiny community art show? I want to spend time with you. The art is just an excuse. Isabel felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. Okay, tomorrow. They exchanged numbers. Elon's driver took Isabel home to her cramped apartment that she shared with 2 roommates. She walked inside in a daze, still wearing her borrowed shoes, still smelling faintly of champagne. Her roommate looked up from the couch. How was work? I think I just met someone incredible, Isabel whispered. She had no idea that she just met the man who would become her husband, the man who would break her heart, the man who 3 years later would stand outside in the rain while she locked him out of the most important night of her life. But that night, she only knew that something had shifted, something had begun. Love in all its beautiful, terrible complexity. The next day, Isabel changed her outfit 4 times before the art exhibit. She finally settled on simple jeans and a soft blue sweater, nothing fancy, nothing that tried too hard. If Elon wanted to see the real her, this was it. She arrived at the downtown community art center 15 minutes early. Her hands felt sweaty. Her stomach fluttered with nervous energy. Maybe he wouldn't show up. Maybe last night had been just champagne and charity event magic. Maybe billionaires didn't actually date girls who served drinks and lived in apartments with peeling paint. Then she saw him. Elon stood outside the art center wearing jeans and a plain black t-shirt. His hair was messy, naturally this time, she suspected. He looked nervous too, which somehow made Isabel feel better. Hi, he said when he spotted her. Hi, she replied. They stood there for a moment, suddenly shy. Last night's easy conversation felt far away in the bright afternoon sunlight. So, Elon said finally, show me art. Isabel smiled, show you art. The exhibit was small, just 1 room featuring local artists. There were maybe 20 people there total. No champagne, no tuxedos, no string quartets, just people who loved art looking at paintings hung on white walls. It was perfect. Isabel guided Elon through the exhibit, explaining each piece. She talked about technique and color and emotion, about what the artists were trying to say, about how art could capture feelings that words couldn't reach. Elon listened, really listened. He asked questions that showed he was thinking deeply about what she said. He stood in front of a painting of a woman's hands for 5 full minutes, just looking. What do you see? Isabel asked softly. Strength, Elon said, and weariness, Like these hands have worked hard for a long time, but they're still capable of gentleness. He turned to her. The artists, they grew up poor, didn't they? How did you know? Because those are my mother's hands. Different person, same story. You can see it in every brushstroke. Isabel felt something warm bloom in her chest. This man understood. He really understood. After the exhibit, they walked through downtown Austin. They grabbed tacos from a food truck and ate them sitting on a park bench. They talked about everything and nothing. They laughed easily. "Tell me about your work," Isabel said. "What's it really like? Not the headlines and interviews, the real thing." Elon was quiet for a moment. "It's like trying to build a bridge while standing on it. Everything is urgent. Everything matters. One wrong decision could affect thousands of people's jobs, millions of dollars, years of progress." That sounds exhausting. It is, but it's also incredible. We're trying to make humanity a multiplanetary species. We're trying to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. These things matter. They're worth the exhaustion. "But what about you?" Isabel asked. "What about Elon the person, not Elon the CEO?" He looked at her surprised. "No one ever asks me that." "Well, I'm asking." Elon set down his taco. "Honestly, I don't know anymore. I've been the CEO for so long, I'm not sure where the job ends and I begin. It's like I've built this engine that needs constant fuel and I'm the fuel." "That's not sustainable," Isabel said gently. "I know, but I don't know how to stop. How do you walk away from trying to save the world?" "Maybe you don't walk away. Maybe you just remember that you're part of the world too, that you matter, not just what you can build or achieve." Elon stared at her. "You're remarkable, you know that." Isabel felt her cheeks flush. "I just think people are more important than things, even important things." They saw each other again the next day, and the day after that. Within a week, they were inseparable. Elon reduced his work hours, not by much, but enough that his assistants noticed. He started leaving the office at 8 instead of midnight. He turned off his phone during dinners. He laughed more. Isabel introduced him to her world. They visited the community center where she worked. They ate at cheap restaurants she loved. They went to free concerts in the park and browsed used bookstores. Elon introduced her to his world too, but carefully. He took her to rocket launches and let her see the wonder of engineering that pushed humanity forward. He showed her labs where scientists worked on battery technology that could change the planet's future. But he never made her feel small in his big world. He valued her opinions. He asked what she thought. He listened. 3 months in, Elon showed up at Isabel's apartment at midnight with Thai food and an excited energy. "I have an idea," he said, spreading takeout containers across her tiny kitchen table. "What if we funded a mobile art program? A bus that travels to different neighborhoods, bringing art supplies and workshops to kids who can't access them otherwise." Isabel's eyes went wide. That would be incredible, but something like that would cost." "I want to fund it, fully. Equipment, supplies, staff salaries, everything. You design the program, you run it however you think is best. No strings attached." "Elon, I can't let you just give me money. You're not letting me do anything. I want to do this. You showed me that art saved your life when you were a kid. How many other kids need that same lifeline? Let's give it to them." Tears sprang to Isabel's eyes. "You're serious?" "Completely serious. What do you say?" "I say," Isabel laughed through her tears, "I say yes, yes, absolutely yes." They hugged in her tiny kitchen, and Elon felt something he hadn't felt in years, pure, uncomplicated joy. The program launched 3 months later. Isabel named it Canvas of Hope. A bright blue bus traveled to different low-income neighborhoods every weekend, loaded with art supplies and staffed by teaching artists. Kids could drop in for free, no questions asked, no forms to fill out. It was an immediate success. Children came in waves, shy at first, then eager. They painted and drew and sculpted. They told stories through their art. They laughed and created and discovered that their ideas mattered. Elon joined Isabel sometimes on Saturdays. At first, kids were starstruck, but Elon had a gift for making them comfortable. He sat on the floor with them. He asked about their artwork. He shared stories about his own childhood. One Saturday, a quiet 8-year-old boy named Deshaun showed Elon his drawing of a rocket ship. "That's amazing," Elon said. "You want to be an astronaut?" Deshaun shook his head, eyes down. My dad says dreaming is stupid when you're poor, says I should be realistic. Elon knelt down beside the boy. Deshaun, look at me. The boy looked up. I grew up getting beat up at school. I was weird and awkward and people thought my dreams were impossible, but I kept dreaming anyway. And you know what? Those impossible dreams became real, not because I'm special, because I refused to stop believing they could happen. Really? Deshaun's voice was small. Really? Don't ever let anyone steal your dreams. Not your dad, not your teachers, not anyone. Your dreams are yours. Protect them. Isabel watched this exchange from across the bus, her heart so full she thought it might burst. This was the real Elon, not the billionaire, not the CEO, but the human who remembered what it felt like to be dismissed and underestimated. This was the man she was falling in love with. That night, lying in bed in the modest house they'd bought together, Isabel had insisted on modest despite Elon's wealth, she told him. I love you, she whispered into the darkness. Elon pulled her closer. I love you too. More than I knew, I could love anything. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll never let the empire matter more than us. Than this. Promise me we'll always come first. Elon kissed her forehead. I promise. You're the most important thing in my world, I promise. He meant it when he said it. He really did. 6 months later, they got married in a small ceremony at a ranch outside Austin. 20 people attended, only the ones who truly mattered. No press, no publicity, just love and laughter and promises made under an oak tree. Isabel wore a simple white dress. Elon cried when he saw her walking toward him. Their vows were short but true. I promise to choose you, Isabel said, every day in every way. I promise to remind you that you're human, not just a hero. I promise to love all of you, the dreamer and the engineer and the man who still gets nervous at parties. I promise to slow down, Elon said, his voice thick with emotion. To remember that the best things in life can't be engineered or optimized. I promise to protect what we have here, to never let work matter more than you. I promise to keep being the man you make me want to be. They meant every word. The first year of marriage was everything Isabel had hoped for. Yes, Elon still worked long hours. Yes, there were stressful days and crisis calls, but he came home. He was present. He remembered what mattered. They adopted a rescue dog, a goofy golden retriever they named Cosmo. Every morning they walked Cosmo together before the day's chaos began. Those walks became sacred, just them and the dog in the quiet morning air. They cooked together on weekends. Badly usually, which made them laugh. They binge-watched TV shows curled up on the couch. They made love slowly, savoring each touch like it was the first time. Canvas of Hope expanded to 3 buses serving 5 different neighborhoods. The kids flourished. Parents wrote thank you letters about how the program had changed their children's lives. Isabel felt like she was living in a dream. A beautiful, impossible dream where the broken girl who'd grown up poor had somehow found love with a man who changed the world but still made time to walk their dog each morning. On their first anniversary, Elon surprised her with a weekend trip. Just the two of them, a small cabin by a lake, no phones allowed. They spent 2 days swimming and hiking and talking. They made love in front of the fireplace. They planned their future, maybe kids someday, definitely more art programs, a life built on purpose and love. This is perfect, Isabel said on their last night, lying in Elon's arms watching the fire. This is everything I ever wanted. Me too, Elon whispered. I never knew life could feel like this, like I can breathe. But even as he said it, his mind drifted to the emails piling up in his inbox. The production delays he'd have to address Monday. The board meeting he couldn't miss. The investor calls he needed to make. He pushed those thoughts away. He was here now, present. This mattered most. He believed that. He really did. Neither of them knew that cracks were already forming. Tiny fractures in their perfect foundation, small enough to ignore. For now. Outside the cabin, wind rustled through the trees. The fire crackled. Cosmo snored softly at their feet. Everything was perfect. Everything was about to change. Year 2 started with a phone call at 3 in the morning. Isabel woke to the sound of Elon's phone buzzing violently on the nightstand. She felt him sit up beside her, his whole body suddenly tense. "What is it?" he said into the phone. His voice was alert despite the hour. "How bad? Okay, I'll be there in an hour." He hung up and was out of bed immediately, pulling on clothes in the dark. "Elon," Isabel mumbled, still half asleep. "What's wrong?" "Production issue at the factory. Major one, I have to go." "At 3 in the morning." "It can't wait." He leaned down and kissed her forehead quickly. "Go back to sleep. I'll be home for dinner, I promise." He wasn't home for dinner. He wasn't home at all that night. Isabel tried not to worry. She understood emergencies happened. She understood his work was important. But when he finally came through the door at 11 the next morning, exhausted and hollow-eyed, something felt different. "I'm sorry," he said. "It was worse than I thought, but we fixed it." "You need to sleep," Isabel said gently. "I need to shower and get back. There's a meeting at noon I can't miss." "Elon, you've been up for over 30 hours. I'll sleep this weekend, I promise." But the weekend came and brought another crisis, and another, and another. The thing about being responsible for thousands of employees and billions of dollars is that emergencies never stop. There's always a fire to put out, a problem to solve, a crisis that only you can handle. Slowly, almost invisibly, work began swallowing Elon again. Dinners were missed. The morning walks with Cosmo became Isabel walking alone while Elon took calls from his home office. Weekends disappeared into emergency meetings and factory visits. "Just this once" became Elon's constant refrain. "Just this once, I need to skip date night. Just this once, I need to work through the weekend. Just this once, I need to fly to California instead of going to your art program event." Isabel tried to be understanding. She really did. She knew Elon's work mattered. She knew thousands of jobs depended on his decisions. She knew he was trying to change the world. But she was starting to feel like a ghost in her own life. Like she was married to a memory of the man she'd fallen in love with, while the real man was always somewhere else, solving problems, saving companies, being a hero to everyone except her. 6 months into year 2, Isabel got news that Canvas of Hope had been selected for a national award. It was a huge honor. The ceremony was in Austin on a Saturday night. "This is amazing," Elon said when she told him. He pulled her into a hug. "I'm so proud of you. I'll clear my whole schedule. We'll celebrate properly." "You promise?" Isabel asked. She hated how her voice sounded small and uncertain, like a child asking if a parent would really show up this time. "I promise. This is important. You're important." The week before the ceremony, Elon seemed more present. He came home at reasonable hours. He asked about her day and actually listened to the answers. He played with Cosmo in the backyard. He was trying, Isabel could see that. On Thursday, 2 days before the ceremony, they cooked dinner together for the first time in weeks. Elon made his terrible pasta, too much garlic always, and Isabel made a salad. They ate on the back porch while the sun set, Cosmo's head resting hopefully on Elon's knee. "I've missed this," Isabel said softly. "I've missed you." "I've missed you too." Elon reached across the table and took her hand. "I know I've been gone too much. I'm going to do better, starting now. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be here, present with me. I am here. I'm not going anywhere." Isabel wanted to believe him. She chose to believe him. Saturday arrived bright and clear. Isabel spent the afternoon getting ready. She bought a new dress, deep purple, elegant but not too fancy. She did her hair and makeup carefully. She felt beautiful, excited, hopeful. The ceremony started at 7. At 6:30, Isabel stood by the door in her purple dress waiting for Elon. 6:45. She checked her phone, no messages. 7 o'clock, she called him. It went a voicemail. 7:15, her assistant Priya called. "Isabel, are you coming? They're about to start." "I'm waiting for Elon. He'll be here any second." But he wasn't. At 7:30, Isabel's phone finally rang. Elon's name flashed on the screen. Relief flooded through her until she heard his voice. "Izzy, I'm so sorry." He sounded stressed, guilty, desperate. "There's an emergency board meeting, Tokyo. Something came up with the investors, and if I don't get on a plane right now, we could lose everything. I have to go." Isabel stood in their entryway, beautiful in her purple dress that no one would see, and felt something crack inside her chest. "You promised," she whispered. I know I did, and I'm so sorry, but this is more important than me. That's not fair. This affects thousands of people's jobs. And what about me? What about us? What about the promises you made?" Isabel, please try to understand. I understand perfectly. Her voice was cold, now empty. Go to Tokyo, save the company, be the hero. Don't do this. Don't make me choose between you and. I'm not making you choose anything, Elon. You already chose. You choose the same thing every time. She hung up. She stood in the quiet house, shaking, fighting back tears. Cosmo whined softly and pressed against her legs. Isabel made herself go to the ceremony. She accepted her award with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She gave a short speech thanking everyone who made Canvas of Hope possible. She didn't mention her husband. When she got home at midnight, Elon was gone, Tokyo, saving the world. The purple dress went into the back of her closet. She never wore it again. 3 days later, Elon returned from Tokyo with an elaborate diamond necklace. It probably cost more than most people made in a year. Little glittering stones arranged in a delicate pattern, beautiful and cold. "I'm so sorry I missed your ceremony," he said, holding out the velvet box. "I know this doesn't make up for it, but I wanted you to know I was thinking about you." Isabel looked at the necklace, looked at the man she loved holding it out like an offering, like diamonds could fix what was broken. "I don't want diamonds, Elon," she said quietly. "I know, but I thought. I want you. I want my husband. I want the man who promised me morning walks and dinner conversations and being present in our life together. I'm trying. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're trying to buy your way out of guilt instead of actually changing anything." Elon's face hardened. "That's not fair. Do you have any idea what I'm dealing with, the pressure, the responsibility? I married you knowing all of that. I never asked you to stop changing the world. I just asked you not to forget me while you're doing it." "I haven't forgotten you." "Really? When's the last time we had an actual conversation? When's the last time you asked about my day and listened to the whole answer? When's the last time we made love without you checking your phone right after?" Elon flinched. "I'm doing this for us, for our future." "We don't have a future if we don't have a present." Isabel's voice cracked. "Can't you see that? You're so busy building tomorrow that today is just disappearing. We're disappearing. So what do you want me to do? Quit? Walk away from everything I've built? I want you to remember your promise. I want you to choose us sometimes instead of always choosing the empire. I want to matter to you as much as production schedules and board meetings and saving the world." They stared at each other across the living room. The diamond necklace glittered in its box between them, expensive and useless. "I love you," Elon said finally. His voice was tired, defeated. "Doesn't that count for something? Love isn't enough when you're always choosing something else." "That's not fair." "Maybe not, but it's true." Elon left the necklace on the table and went to his office. Isabel heard the door close, heard him on the phone within seconds, already back in CEO mode. She sat on the couch and let Cosmo rest his head in her lap. She didn't cry. She was too tired to cry. The necklace sat in its velvet box for 3 days before Isabel finally put it away in a drawer. She never wore it. Some gifts come too late to mean anything. The months that followed were harder. Elon worked 18-hour days, sometimes 20. He missed birthdays and anniversaries and ordinary Tuesdays that should have mattered. He flew between cities like a ghost, always needed somewhere else, always solving someone else's crisis. Isabel threw herself into Canvas of Hope. She expanded the program to 2 more cities. She hired additional staff. She spent long hours working with kids who needed her, who saw her, who made her feel like she mattered. At night, she came home to an empty house, or to a house where Elon was physically present but mentally 1,000 miles away, staring at his laptop, his phone constantly buzzing. They stopped fighting. Fighting required energy, engagement, caring enough to argue. They just drifted, 2 people living parallel lives that occasionally intersected but never quite connected anymore. Isabel started sleeping in the guest room. She told herself it was because Elon's phone woke her up too often. That was part of the truth. The other part was that lying next to him while feeling completely alone was worse than being actually alone. On what should have been their 3rd anniversary, Elon promised a weekend getaway. "Just us," he'd said. "No phones, no work, no interruptions, I promise." Isabel wanted to believe him. Some part of her still hoped that maybe this time would be different. She packed their bags carefully. She made reservations at a small bed and breakfast in the hill country. She bought a new dress, not purple this time, but soft yellow, the color of hope. She waited at home on Friday afternoon, bags by the door, wearing the yellow dress. 5 o'clock came and went. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. At 8, Elon called. Emergency board meeting. Tokyo, I have to go. I'm so sorry, Izzy. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Isabel didn't respond. She just hung up. She didn't cry this time. She unpacked their bags in silence, putting each carefully folded item back in its place. She took off the yellow dress and put on sweatpants. She took Cosmo for a long walk under the stars. When she came back, Elon was gone, already on a plane, already saving something that wasn't their marriage. Isabel sat in the dark living room and realized something that made her chest ache. She couldn't remember the last time Elon had looked at her, really looked at her, like she was the most important thing in the room. She couldn't remember the last time his eyes had lit up when he came home and saw her. She couldn't remember the last time they'd laughed together about something silly and unimportant. All those moments had been swallowed by the empire, by the endless work, by the mission to change the world that left no room for the two people who'd promised to change their world together. 3 days later, Elon returned with an expensive bracelet. Isabel didn't even take it out of the box. 2 months after the missed anniversary, Isabel woke up feeling strange. Her stomach felt unsettled, but not quite sick. Everything smelled too strong: Elon's coffee, Cosmo's dog food, even the soap in the bathroom. She ignored it for 3 days, then a week. Then Priya noticed at work. You look pale, Priya said, handing Isabel a cup of ginger tea. And you've been to the bathroom 4 times this morning. Are you okay? I'm fine, just tired. But Priya gave her a knowing look. Isabel, when's the last time you had your period? Isabel opened her mouth to answer, then stopped. When was the last time? She'd been so stressed, so distracted by the slow dissolution of her marriage that she hadn't even noticed. She counted back, 6 weeks, maybe 7. Oh, she whispered. That afternoon, Isabel bought 3 pregnancy tests from 3 different stores. She felt like a teenager, nervous and scared and hopeful all at once. She waited until she got home to take them. All 3 were positive. Isabel sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the little plus signs and double lines. A baby. She was going to have a baby. Their baby. Terror flooded through her first. How could she bring a child into a marriage that was falling apart? How could she raise a baby with a man who was never home? But then something else pushed through the fear. Hope. Maybe this was the answer. Maybe a baby would remind Elon of what truly mattered. Maybe this tiny life would pull them back together, would make him remember his promise to choose family first. Maybe they could still save this. Isabel spent 2 days planning how to tell him. It needed to be special, meaningful. She wanted to capture that feeling from their first year together when everything had felt possible. She cleaned the house until it sparkled. She cooked Elon's favorite meal, the pasta he always made badly, but she'd learned to make it right. She set the table with candles and the good plates they never used. She wrapped the positive pregnancy test in a small box with a blue ribbon. Elon was supposed to be home at 6. Isabel lit the candles at 5:30 and waited. 6 o'clock passed. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. The pasta got cold. The candles burned low. Isabel's hope dimmed with each passing hour. At 9:30, she heard his car in the driveway. The front door opened. Elon walked in looking exhausted, his tie loose, his eyes hollow with fatigue. Sorry I'm late, he said automatically. Production crisis at the Nevada facility. We had to, he stopped, finally noticing the set table, the candles, Isabel in a nice dress. Oh, did I forget something? No, Isabel's voice was carefully calm. I just wanted to have a nice dinner together. Guilt flashed across Elon's face. Izzy, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I already ate a sandwich at the office, but I can sit with you while you eat. The food's cold now anyway. They stood in awkward silence. Elon's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen. I need to take this, he said apologetically. It's the team in China. They're waiting for. Elon, Isabel's voice stopped him. Can you put the phone down for 10 minutes? I need to tell you something important. Something in her tone made him look up, really look at her. He saw the candles, the nice dress, the careful effort she'd made. He saw the vulnerable hope in her eyes. He put the phone on silent and slipped it back in his pocket. Okay, I'm listening. Isabel picked up the small wrapped box from the table. Her hands shook slightly as she held it out to him. "What's this?" Elon asked. "Open it." He unwrapped it carefully like he knew whatever was inside mattered. When he saw the pregnancy test, his whole body went still. His voice came out rough, choked. "We're going to have a baby." Isabel nodded, tears already spilling down her cheeks. "Yes." For one beautiful moment, joy exploded across Elon's face, pure, uncomplicated happiness. He crossed the space between them in 2 steps and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "A baby," he whispered into her hair. "We're having a baby." "Are you happy?" Isabel asked, her voice muffled against his chest. "Happy? Izzy, I'm." He pulled back to look at her and she could see tears in his eyes too. "This is the best news, the absolute best news. This changes everything." "Does it?" The question came out smaller than she meant it to. Elon cupped her face in his hands. "Yes, it does. I know I've been terrible lately. I know I've let you down. But this, our baby, this is what matters. I'm going to do better, I promise. I'm going to be the husband you deserve, the father our child deserves." Isabel wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. "You promise?" "I promise. Things are going to change, starting right now." He kissed her then, soft and gentle, like they were back at the beginning when everything was new and possible. Isabel let herself melt into it, let herself hope that maybe they could find their way back to each other. That night, they talked for hours. About baby names and nursery colors and what kind of parents they wanted to be. Elon was more present than he'd been in months, his phone forgotten on the table, all his attention on Isabel and the tiny life growing inside her. "I want to be a good father," he said quietly. "Not like mine was. I want to actually be there." "You will be," Isabel assured him. "I know you will." For 3 weeks, Elon tried. He really did. He came home earlier, not early, but earlier. He turned his phone off during dinner. He went with Isabel to her first prenatal appointment and held her hand while they listened to the rapid flutter of their baby's heartbeat. "That's our kid," he whispered, staring at the ultrasound screen in wonder. "That's really our kid." They painted the nursery together on a rare free Saturday, soft yellow, the color of hope and sunshine. Elon was terrible at painting, getting more on himself than the walls, making Isabel laugh until her sides hurt. "You're supposed to paint the wall, not yourself," she teased. "I'm creating abstract art," Elon replied, flicking a tiny bit of paint at her nose. "It's very sophisticated. You wouldn't understand." Isabel flicked paint back at him. Within minutes, they were in a full paint war, laughing like children covered in yellow splatters. They ended up making love right there on the tarp-covered floor, gentle and slow, their hands leaving paint prints on each other's skin. "I love you," Elon said afterward, tracing the curve of Isabel's barely their belly. "Both of you." "We love you too." For those 3 weeks, Isabel let herself believe everything would be okay. She imagined their future, the 3 of them, maybe Cosmo too, building a life full of love and laughter and presence. She imagined Elon teaching their child about space and science. She imagined herself teaching them about art and creativity. Together, they'd raise someone extraordinary. Then, on a Tuesday morning, everything shattered. Isabel woke up at dawn feeling cramping in her abdomen. Not terrible at first, just uncomfortable. She tried to go back to sleep, but the cramping got worse. Then she felt something wet. She stumbled to the bathroom and turned on the light. "Blood." "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." "Elon," her voice came out as a scream. "Elon." He was there in seconds, half asleep, then fully awake when he saw her face, saw the blood. "Hospital," he said, already moving. "Now." The drive was a blur. Elon drove too fast, ran red lights, one hand gripping the steering wheel and the other holding tight to Isabel's. She was crying, praying, begging for their baby to be okay. "Please, please, please." The emergency room was bright and cold. A doctor came, kind-eyed and gentle-voiced. She did an ultrasound. The screen showed their baby, but something was wrong. The rapid heartbeat from 3 days ago was gone. Just silence. Terrible, empty silence. "I'm so sorry," the doctor said softly. "There's no heartbeat. You're having a miscarriage." The words didn't make sense at first. Isabel stared at the screen, at the tiny form that should have been their child, that was supposed to grow and be born and change their lives. "No," she heard herself say. "Check again. Please check again." The doctor checked again, and again, each time the same terrible silence. Their baby was gone. Isabel made a sound she'd never made before, a broken, animal sound of pure grief. Elon pulled her against his chest and held her while she sobbed. She felt his tears falling into her hair, felt his whole body shaking with silent crying. "I'm sorry," Isabel kept saying. "I'm so sorry. I lost our baby." "No," Elon said fiercely. "Don't. This isn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong." But it didn't matter. Their baby was gone. Their hope was gone. The thing that was supposed to save them was gone. The doctor explained what would happen next, used medical terms that Isabel couldn't process. Elon asked questions in a hollow voice. They filled out forms. They went through procedures. Everything felt like moving through deep water, slow and unreal. They drove home in silence. The yellow nursery was waiting, cheerful and bright and empty. Isabel couldn't look at it. She went straight to the bedroom and crawled under the covers, still wearing her blood-stained clothes. Elon climbed in beside her and held her while she cried. He cried too, his face pressed against her shoulder. They stayed like that for hours, holding each other in their grief. "We'll get through this," Elon whispered when the worst of the crying had passed. "Together, I promise. We'll get through this together." But grief breaks people in different ways. Isabel needed to talk about it. She needed to cry and rage and feel every terrible feeling. She needed to sit in the empty nursery and mourn what would never be. She needed Elon to sit with her in that pain, to witness it, to share it. Elon needed to move, to bury himself in work where there were problems he could actually solve, where his brain could focus on something other than the unbearable loss. He went back to the office 3 days after the miscarriage. "I can't just sit here," he explained. "Staying busy helps me cope." "Running away isn't coping," Isabel said. Her voice was empty, hollow. "I'm not running away, I need to do something. I feel helpless. At work I can fix things." "You can't fix this, Elon. No one can fix this. We just have to feel it." "I am feeling it. I just can't only feel it or I'll fall apart." They were speaking different languages, drowning in separate oceans, unable to reach each other even though they were right there, close enough to touch. The weeks after the miscarriage were the loneliest of Isabel's life. She took leave from Canvas of Hope. She couldn't face the children, couldn't bear their innocent joy when she felt hollowed out inside. She spent days in the empty nursery, sitting on the floor surrounded by unopened boxes of baby clothes and toys. Cosmo would find her there and lay his head in her lap, offering the only comfort she could accept. Elon worked 18-hour days, 20-hour days. He flew to 3 different cities in 1 week. When he was home, he was exhausted and distant, his grief locked behind walls Isabel couldn't penetrate. They stopped talking. Not on purpose, there just didn't seem to be anything to say. The silence between them grew heavy with all the words they couldn't speak, with all the pain they couldn't share. One night, 6 weeks after the miscarriage, Isabel tried one more time. "Elon, please, talk to me. Let me in. We need each other right now." He looked up from his laptop, his eyes tired and guarded. "What do you want me to say?" "Anything. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me you're hurting too. Tell me you miss the baby we'll never meet." "Of course I miss our baby. Of course I'm hurting, but talking about it doesn't change anything." "It helps. Being together helps." "Does it? Because being here just makes me feel the loss more. At work, I can pretend for a few hours that everything is normal." "Nothing is normal," Isabel's voice cracked. "Our baby died. Our marriage is falling apart, and you're pretending everything is fine by hiding at work." "I'm not hiding. I'm surviving." "By yourself. You're surviving by yourself without me." Elon closed his laptop. "What do you want from me, Isabel? I'm doing the best I can." "I want my husband. I want the man who promised we'd get through this together. I want you to be here, really here, not just physically present while your mind is 1,000 miles away." "I am here." "No, you're not. You haven't been here in months, maybe years, and losing our baby just made it worse." They stared at each other across a distance that felt impossible to bridge. "I don't know how to do this," Elon admitted quietly. "I don't know how to grieve and still function. I don't know how to fall apart and still hold everything together." "You don't have to hold everything together. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Let go, fall apart, I'll catch you." "And who catches you?" The question hung between them, because that was the real problem, wasn't it? They both needed to be caught, but neither of them had the strength to catch the other. Isabel started sleeping in the guest room permanently that night. The bed she'd shared with Elon held too many ghosts, the baby they'd never meet, the marriage that was dying, the promises that kept breaking. In the darkness, lying alone, Isabel finally admitted the truth she'd been avoiding. Losing their baby hadn't destroyed their marriage. Their marriage had already been broken. The baby had just been the last hope, the final thread holding them together. And now even that was gone. The decision to divorce didn't come all at once. It came in small moments, quiet realizations that accumulated like snow until the weight became unbearable. It came when Isabel realized she'd stopped expecting Elon to come home at reasonable hours. It came when Elon stopped pretending his phone calls weren't more important than their conversations. It came when they passed each other in the hallway like polite strangers, murmuring "excuse me" instead of stopping to kiss. It came when Isabel looked at her wedding ring one morning and couldn't remember the last time it had felt like a symbol of love instead of a reminder of loss. 3 months after the miscarriage, Isabel made an appointment with a divorce lawyer. She told herself she was just exploring options, just seeing what the process looked like. But deep down, she knew. Her heart had already made the decision. Her head was just catching up. The lawyer was a kind woman named Rebecca with gentle eyes and a box of tissues on her desk. "Tell me about your marriage," Rebecca said, and Isabel did. She told the whole story, the champagne-soaked beginning, the promises made under the oak tree, the slow drift apart, the baby they'd lost, the man who'd forgotten how to be present. She cried through most of it, surprised she still had tears left. "Do you still love him?" Rebecca asked when Isabel finished. "Yes," Isabel whispered. "That's what makes this so hard. I still love him. I just can't live like this anymore. I can't be married to someone who's never actually there. I can't keep coming in second to everything else in his life." "Have you told him how you feel?" 100 times, 1,000 times. Nothing changes, or it changes for a week, maybe 2, and then we're right back here. He means his promises when he makes them. I really believe that, but he can't keep them. The work always pulls him back. Rebecca nodded. Some people aren't built for marriage, not because they're bad people, but because they're built for other things. Big things, world-changing things. That doesn't make them wrong, but it doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your life to their mission either. Isabel left the lawyer's office with divorce papers in her bag and a decision made. She just had to find the courage to tell Elon. She waited until Friday evening. Elon actually came home at 8 o'clock, early for him lately. He looked surprised to find Isabel sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. "Hey," he said cautiously, "is everything okay?" "Sit down," Isabel said quietly, "please." Elon sat. His face already showed he knew something was coming, something bad. "I've filed for divorce," Isabel said, simple, direct, like ripping off a bandage. "The papers are here if you want to look at them." The color drained from Elon's face. "What? Why? I thought we were working through things." "We're not working through anything, Elon. We're just existing in the same house. We're just slowly hurting each other by staying in something that stopped working a long time ago." "No," Elon shook his head. "No, this isn't. We can fix this. I'll do better. I'll cut back on work. You've said that before. You've promised that before. And maybe you even mean it, but it never lasts. Because the truth is, you don't know how to choose us over the work. You don't know how to be the person you promised to be." "That's not fair." "Maybe not, but it's true." Isabel's voice was steady despite the tears running down her face. "I lost our baby, Elon, and then I lost you. You weren't here. You couldn't sit with me in the grief. You ran straight back to work and left me alone with all that pain. I was grieving too." I know you were, but you were grieving alone. And I needed you. I needed my husband, and you couldn't be that for me." Elon stood up, pacing. His hands shook. "So that's it, you're just giving up, after everything we built together." "I'm not giving up, I'm letting go. There's a difference." "I love you," his voice cracked. "Doesn't that matter?" Isabel looked at the man she'd married, the man she still loved, the man who'd somehow become a stranger. "Love isn't enough when you're always choosing something else. I told you that 2 years ago. You didn't listen then. You're not listening now." "What do you want me to do? Quit? Walk away from companies that employ thousands of people? Abandon projects that could change humanity's future?" "I never asked you to do that. I asked you to remember that I exist, that we exist. I asked you to keep the promise you made under that oak tree that I would come first, that we would matter more than the empire, but I've never come first, Elon. Not once. Not really. Elon sank back into his chair, his face in his hands. I don't know how to be different. This is who I am. The work is part of me. I know, and I'm not asking you to change who you are. I'm just accepting that who you are isn't compatible with being married, at least not to me. They sat in silence. The kitchen clock ticked loudly. Cosmo whined softly from his bed in the corner, sensing the tension. Is there anything I can say? Elon asked finally. Anything I can do to change your mind? Isabel shook her head. I don't think so. I've thought about this for months. I've cried myself empty thinking about it. This isn't impulsive or angry. It's just necessary for both of us. How is this necessary for me? I don't want a divorce. I want my wife. You want the idea of a wife. You want someone waiting at home who doesn't mind being second priority, who doesn't need actual time or attention or presence. And I can't be that person anymore. I tried. I really tried. But I'm disappearing, Elon. I'm becoming a ghost in my own life and I can't do it anymore. Elon's phone buzzed on the table. They both looked at it. He didn't reach for it, but Isabel could see the effort that took. Even now, in the middle of the worst conversation of their marriage, the pull was there. See, Isabel said softly. Even now. I didn't answer it. But you wanted to. And that's okay. That's who you are. But I need to be with someone who doesn't have to fight the urge to choose work over me every single time. The divorce was quiet. No public drama. No bitter fights over assets. Elon gave Isabel everything she asked for, which wasn't much. The house, the modest one she'd insisted on. A generous donation to expand canvas of hope. Enough money to live comfortably while she rebuilt her life. Isabel asked for nothing extravagant. Money had never been why she loved him. Its absence wouldn't be why she left. The lawyers handled most of the details. Isabel and Elon saw each other only twice more during the process. Both meetings were painful and polite. They signed papers. They divided memories. They dismantled a life they'd built together. The day the divorce was finalized, Isabel stood in the living room of the house that was now only hers. Boxes were stacked everywhere. Elon had taken his things the day before. The spaces where his belongings used to be looked like missing teeth. She found the velvet box with the diamond necklace in a drawer. The "I'm sorry" written in stones. She stared at it for a long moment, then put it in a box marked "Donate." Some apologies came too late to mean anything. Their final conversation happened on the front porch on a warm spring evening. Elon had come to get the last of his things. A few books, some old photos, Cosmo's leash. They'd agreed Isabel would keep the dog. Elon was never home enough to care for him. They stood awkwardly by Elon's car, the boxes loaded in the trunk. Neither seemed to know how to say goodbye to someone who'd been everything and was now becoming nothing. I hope you find what you're looking for, Isabel said finally. Her voice was soft, sincere, no anger left, just sadness. Elon looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in months. I already found it, I just didn't know how to keep it. Maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe some people are meant to change the world and other people are meant to build homes. Maybe we were never supposed to be both. I wanted to be both. With you, I thought I could be. Me too. The silence stretched between them, full of everything they'd lost and everything they'd never have. Isabel reached up and touched his cheek gently, just once. A goodbye. Take care of yourself, Elon. Actually take care of yourself. Sleep sometimes. Eat real food. Remember you're human. I'll try. His voice was barely a whisper. Will you be okay? Eventually, will you? I don't know, but I'll keep building things. That's what I do. I know. Elon got in his car. He sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. Then he started the engine and drove away without looking back. Isabel watched until his car disappeared around the corner. Then she went inside, closed the door, and let herself cry one last time for the marriage that had ended and the man she'd loved who couldn't love her the way she needed. Cosmo pressed against her legs, offering silent comfort. It's just us now, boy, she whispered into his fur. We're going to be okay, somehow. In the months that followed, Isabel slowly rebuilt herself. She threw herself into Canvas of Hope, expanding the program to 5 new cities. She took art classes again, rediscovering the joy of creation for its own sake. She went to therapy and learned that losing herself in someone else's dream wasn't love, it was self-abandonment. She moved on, or she tried to. Some nights, she still woke up reaching for Elon before remembering he was gone. Some mornings, she still turned to tell him something before the emptiness reminded her she was alone. But mostly, she was okay. She built a life that was wholly hers. She found happiness in small things, morning walks with Cosmo, coffee with friends, the satisfaction of watching young artists discover their voice. She dated a few people, nice men who called when they said they would and showed up on time and actually listened when she talked. But none of them made her feel what Elon had made her feel. None of them understood the specific shape of her soul the way he had. Maybe no one ever would again. Maybe that was okay. Elon, as far as Isabel could tell from occasional headlines, was exactly the same, working impossible hours, launching new ventures, changing the world while probably forgetting to sleep. She didn't hate him. She couldn't. You don't stop loving someone just because you can't live with them. The love just changes shape, becomes something quieter, something that exists in memory rather than in the present. 3 years passed. 3 years of healing and growing and learning to be whole on her own. 3 years of Canvas of Hope flourishing and Isabel finding purpose beyond being someone's wife. And then came the invitation to showcase Voices of Tomorrow at the Starlight Gallery, the biggest opportunity of her career. A chance to give young artists from underserved communities a platform they'd never dreamed of. Isabel poured everything into planning it. 3 years of work culminating in one perfect night. She told herself Elon wouldn't come. He was too busy, too important, too far removed from her life now. So when she created the guest list, she didn't include his name. It wasn't vindictive. It was self-preservation. Seeing him would hurt too much. Would remind her of everything they'd been and everything they'd lost. But what Isabel couldn't know, was that Elon had been following Canvas of Hope's growth the whole time, had been reading every article about the program, had been watching from a distance as she built something extraordinary, and he'd received a letter 6 months earlier from a boy named Deshaun, a boy who wanted to thank the woman who'd changed his life, a boy who'd made Elon promise to deliver something very important on a very specific night. So despite not being invited, despite knowing his presence would hurt her, Elon came to the Starlight Gallery on that rainy Thursday evening. He came with a gift box wrapped in blue paper. He came to keep a promise. He just didn't expect to be locked out. Didn't expect to see Isabel's face through the glass, the flash of pain, the deliberate turning away. And he definitely didn't expect what would happen next. 11 minutes that would change everything. Again. Elon sat in the back of his Tesla, rain drumming on the roof like 1,000 tiny heartbeats. He checked his watch. 8 minutes had passed since he'd called Marcus Rodriguez. 3 minutes left. Through the rain-streaked window, he could see the gallery glowing warm and bright. Shadows moved behind the glass, people laughing, celebrating, living. Isabel was in there somewhere, probably trying to forget he'd ever shown up. The gift box sat on the seat beside him, still wrapped in blue paper. Inside was Deshaun's painting and his letter. Inside was proof that Isabel's work mattered, that she changed lives, that everything she'd built meant something. Elon picked up the box, turning it over in his hands. He'd promised Deshaun he'd deliver it tonight. The kid had been so earnest, so hopeful. "She saved my life, Mr. Musk," Deshaun had said 6 months ago when he'd shown up at one of Elon's offices. He was 15 now, tall and skinny, wearing a backpack covered in art supplies. "Canvas of Hope found me when I was ready to give up on everything. Ms. Isabel, she saw something in me nobody else saw." "She has that gift," Elon had replied quietly, "seeing the best in people. I got into art school, full scholarship to Austin College of Design, but I need help with living expenses, supplies, stuff like that. My mom, she works hard, but there's 6 of us kids. I was wondering." Deshaun had taken a deep breath. "Could you help me? Could you mentor me?" Elon had been surprised. "Why me? Why not ask Isabel?" "Because you're the one who told me to protect my dreams, remember? 5 years ago, on the Canvas of Hope bus. You said don't let anyone steal them." Elon did remember, a small boy drawing a rocket ship, a father who said dreaming was stupid for poor kids. Elon had knelt down and told that boy to keep dreaming anyway. I remember, Elon had said softly. Well, I protected them, and now they're coming true, but Ms. Isabel, she moved Canvas of Hope to different neighborhoods. I don't know how to reach her, and I wanted to thank her, to show her what her program did for me. So Elon had helped. He'd covered Deshaun's expenses, met with him monthly, watched him grow into an extraordinary young artist. And Deshaun had painted something for Isabel, a sunrise, crude but hopeful, full of the raw emotion that made art matter. Give this to her, Deshaun had said, handing Elon the small canvas. At her big exhibition, I saw the announcement online. Give it to her and tell her thank you. Tell her she saved me. Elon had promised, and Elon always kept his promises. Well, almost always. He checked his watch again, 1 minute left. Inside the gallery, Isabel was showing a collector one of the paintings when she felt it, a sudden unease like static electricity before a storm. She looked up at the lights. They flickered, just once. So brief most people didn't notice, but Isabel noticed. She'd always been sensitive to changes in atmosphere, to shifts in energy. Something felt wrong. The lights flickered again, longer this time. Is everything okay? The collector asked, looking up. I'm sure it's fine, Isabel said automatically. Old building, temperamental wiring. But her heart had started beating faster. That instinct, that sixth sense, was screaming at her that something was very wrong. Ms. Cordova's radio crackled. She stepped away to answer it, her face growing serious. She spoke urgently into the device, then began moving quickly through the gallery. The lights flickered a third time, then they went out completely. Emergency lights kicked in immediately, bathing everything in eerie red. Someone gasped. A glass shattered somewhere. Everyone stay calm. Ms. Cordova's voice cut through the rising murmurs. Please remain where you are. This is likely just a power issue. Then the fire alarm began to scream. The sound was deafening, relentless, filling every corner of the gallery. The emergency lights strobed in rhythm with the alarm, making everything feel surreal, nightmarish. This is not a drill, Ms. Cordova shouted over the noise. Everyone moved toward the main exits in an orderly fashion. Do not run. Help anyone who needs assistance. Panic rippled through the crowd. People started moving toward the doors, some fast, some pushing. The young artists looked terrified, their big night dissolving into chaos. Isabel stood frozen for one horrible second. 3 years of work. 3 years of building this program, planning this exhibition, giving these kids hope, all of it falling apart. Then the sprinklers activated. Water exploded from the ceiling in heavy torrents. Cold, forceful, soaking everything instantly. People screamed. Designer dresses and expensive suits were ruined in seconds. But Isabel didn't care about the clothes. She cared about the art. The paintings, she cried out. We have to save the paintings. She ran to the nearest wall and began yanking artwork down. A portrait by 16-year-old Maria, a landscape by 13-year-old James, a mixed media piece by twins who'd never had art supplies before Canvas of Hope gave them some. These weren't just paintings. They were dreams made visible. They were proof that these kids mattered. Priya grabbed her arm. Isabel, we need to evacuate now. It's not safe. I can't leave them. Isabel was crying now, tears mixing with sprinkler water. These kids trusted me with their work. But the water kept falling. The alarm kept screaming. More people were streaming toward the exits. A few guests stopped to help, grabbing artwork and shielding it as they evacuated. Most just ran. Isabel couldn't blame them. The situation felt dangerous, urgent, terrifying. Through the chaos, Isabel worked frantically. She saved what she could, 5 paintings, 3 photographs, a small sculpture. She held them against her chest, trying to protect them with her body. Her emerald dress was soaked through. Her carefully styled hair hung in wet ropes. Mascara ran down her face in black rivers, but she didn't care. She just kept trying to save what mattered. Fire trucks arrived outside, sirens adding to the cacophony. Red and white lights flashed through the windows. Firefighters rushed in. Ma'am, you need to evacuate. One of them grabbed Isabel's arm. The art. Ma'am, now. Ms. Cordova appeared and physically pulled Isabel toward the exit. Ms. Chen, the building must be completely evacuated. That includes you. Move. Isabel stumbled outside into the rain, still clutching the artwork she'd managed to save. The rain felt warm compared to the cold sprinkler water. Or maybe she was just numb. Other guests huddled on the sidewalk, equally soaked, looking shocked and confused. Some were crying. The young artists looked devastated, watching their dreams drown through the gallery windows. Police cars arrived. More fire trucks. The street was a chaos of lights and sirens and emergency personnel shouting orders. Isabel stood there shaking from cold, from shock, from grief. She'd worked so hard. These kids had worked so hard, and in minutes it was all destroyed. Priya wrapped an arm around her. "I'm so sorry, Isabel. I'm so sorry." I couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight with unshed sobs. That's when she saw him. Elon was running toward her, not away from the chaos like any sane person would, but toward it, toward the emergency vehicles and the confusion and the destruction, toward her. He still had that gift box tucked under his jacket, kept dry despite the rain. His eyes found hers across the wet pavement. He looked panicked, relieved, guilty. And suddenly, Isabel knew. She didn't know how. She didn't know the details. But some deep instinct told her that Elon was connected to this disaster, to her ruined exhibition, to the destruction of everything she'd built. The grief in her chest transformed instantly to rage. "What did you do?" The words came out broken, barely audible over the emergency vehicles. But Elon heard them. He kept coming toward her. "Isabel, I need to explain." "What did you do?" She was screaming now. Priya tried to hold her back, but Isabel pulled away. She walked toward Elon, her whole body shaking with fury. "You couldn't stand that I was happy without you, that I built something that had nothing to do with you. No, that's not. You got locked out and you decided to ruin everything, to destroy the one good thing I've built since you destroyed our marriage. Isabel, please listen. I asked for one thing," her voice cracked. "To have tonight, to have this exhibition, to give these kids their moment, and you took it from me. You took it just like you took everything else." Firefighters were moving around them. Other guests were staring. But Isabel didn't care. 3 years of grief and healing and rebuilding had just collapsed, and the man responsible was standing right in front of her. "Why?" she demanded. "Why would you do this? What could I have possibly done to deserve this?" Elon gently grabbed her shoulders. His hands were warm despite the rain. His eyes were desperate, pleading. "Izzy, there was a fire, a real fire, in the electrical room behind the gallery. I got an automated alert on my phone." Isabel tried to pull away. "Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying." His voice was urgent. "I still have building monitoring access from when I donated to the gallery's renovation fund 2 years ago. The system sent me an alert. Short circuit in the electrical room. It would have spread to the main gallery in minutes. When security wouldn't let me in to warn everyone, I called Marcus Rodriguez at the fire department. The shutdown, the alarms, the sprinklers. I triggered them remotely to evacuate everyone before the fire spread." Isabel froze. "What?" "I shut the venue down to save it, to save you." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "I couldn't let anything happen to you." A firefighter approached, a Hispanic man in his 50s with a kind face and chief's insignia on his helmet. "Mr. Musk." "Marcus." Elon didn't let go of Isabel's shoulders. "Tell her, please." Fire Chief Rodriguez looked at Isabel with sympathetic eyes. "Ma'am, your building had a serious electrical fire in the maintenance room. If Mr. Musk hadn't alerted us and triggered the emergency systems when he did," he paused, "the fire would have spread to the main gallery. With all those people inside, we could have been looking at casualties, multiple casualties." Words didn't make sense at first. Isabel's brain couldn't process the shift from Elon destroyed everything to Elon saved everyone. The sprinklers," she managed. "Contained the fire to the electrical room. Some of your artwork got wet, but we can dry and restore most of it. The main gallery structure is sound. You'll be able to reschedule the exhibition." Chief Rodriguez smiled slightly. "Thanks to Mr. Musk here, the only thing damaged is some wiring and some paint jobs. Everyone is safe." He nodded respectfully and walked back to his team, leaving Elon and Isabel standing in the rain. Isabel stared at Elon, really looked at him. He was soaked, exhausted, still holding that gift box like his life depended on it. His eyes held something she hadn't seen in years, raw, vulnerable care. You saved my exhibition." Her voice came out small, confused. "I tried to warn you in person, but security wouldn't let me in. I had seconds to make a decision. I'm sorry I scared everyone. I'm sorry about the water damage, but I couldn't." His voice broke. "I couldn't risk anything happening to you." All the anger drained out of Isabel. replaced by something complicated and painful. Why are you even here tonight? Elon finally held out the wet gift box. Open it, please. Isabel's hands shook as she took it. She unwrapped the blue paper carefully, muscle memory from childhood when gifts were rare and precious. Inside was a small canvas, maybe 8 inches by 10, a sunrise painted in bold, hopeful strokes, crude but powerful, full of raw emotion that technique couldn't capture. She recognized the signature immediately, Deshawn. Beneath the painting was a letter, slightly damp but readable, in Deshawn's careful handwriting. Ms. Isabel, I don't know if you remember me. I was the quiet kid who drew rocket ships 5 years ago on the canvas of Hope Bus. You told me my art mattered. You told me I mattered. I wanted you to know I got into art school. Austin College of Design, full scholarship. I'm going to be an artist, a real one. Mr. Elon helped me with expenses and stuff. He's been mentoring me. But he didn't save me. You did. Canvas of Hope saved me. When my dad said dreaming was stupid, you showed me it wasn't. When I thought nobody cared about kids like me, you proved someone did. You changed my whole life. I painted this sunrise for you because that's what you gave me, a new beginning, a new day, hope. Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for saving my life. Deshawn. Isabel's hands trembled so hard she almost dropped the painting. Tears streamed down her face, different tears now, not anger but something else. Something that hurt and healed at the same time. He came to me 6 months ago, Elon said quietly. Asked if I remembered him. I did. The boy who drew rocket ships. The one whose father said dreaming was stupid for poor kids. You told him to protect his dreams, Isabel whispered, remembering that day on the bus. Because you taught me that dreams matter, that people matter more than achievements. Elon's voice was rough with emotion. Deshawn wanted to thank you. He made me promise to give you that painting tonight at your exhibition. I couldn't get in, but I kept trying because I made a promise to that kid. Because he's living proof of what you've built, what you've given to the world. Isabel clutched the painting to her chest, careful not to damage it. You've been helping him, mentoring him. For 6 months. He's extraordinary, Izzy. He's going to be a great artist because you gave him the chance to discover that about himself. The rain kept falling. Emergency lights kept flashing. People kept milling around in confused groups. But Isabel and Elon stood in their own bubble, connected by the painting between them and the history behind them. I didn't ban you because I hate you, Isabel finally admitted. Her voice was barely audible. I banned you because seeing you still hurts, because I'm not over losing what we had, what we could have been. I'm not over it either, Elon confessed. I probably never will be. You were the best thing that ever happened to me and I destroyed it. I chose wrong. Every time I chose wrong. They stood in silence, both crying in the rain where no one could tell tears from rainwater. An ambulance crew approached with blankets. You folks should get warm. You could go into shock. They accepted the blankets automatically, wrapping them around their shoulders. They looked absurd, soaked, covered in emergency blankets, standing in a disaster zone clutching a child's painting. The exhibition, Isabel started, can be rescheduled, Chief Rodriguez called over. Minimal damage to the actual gallery space. You were lucky. Lucky? Isabel almost laughed. Nothing about tonight felt lucky, and yet everyone was safe. The building was intact. The art could be dried and restored. Deshawn's letter was in her hands. Maybe that was lucky after all. I should help with cleanup, Isabel said, but she didn't move. Izzy, Elon's voice stopped her. She turned. I kept my promise. Late, 3 years late, but I kept it. The empire doesn't matter more than us. Than you, it took losing you to learn that lesson. Isabel's lip trembled. You can't just say that and expect. I'm not expecting anything. I'm just telling you the truth. You changed me. You're still changing me. Deshawn wouldn't be going to art school if you hadn't shown me what really matters. None of those kids would have Canvas of Hope if you hadn't taught me that people are worth more than projects. Elon, I don't deserve forgiveness. I know that, but I needed you to know you won. Your way was right. Being present matters more than being productive. People matter more than progress. You tried to teach me that and I was too stupid to listen. But I'm listening now. Isabel didn't know what to say. 3 years of grief and healing and anger all tangled up with old love and new understanding. It was too much, too complicated. "I need to go," she said finally. "Help coordinate things, figure out next steps." "Of course," Elon stepped back, "I should go too." But neither of them moved. "Maybe," Isabel started, then stopped. "Maybe someday we can be friends when it doesn't hurt so much." "I'd like that." She nodded once and turned toward the gallery. Priya was waving her over, asking about insurance and rescheduling. Real life was calling her back. "Izzy," Elon called. She turned. "Thank you for Canvas of Hope, for Deshaun, for showing kids like him, like me, that we matter. You're changing the world too, just in a better way than I ever did." Isabel's throat was too tight to respond. She just nodded and walked away, still clutching Deshaun's painting like a lifeline. Elon stood in the rain and watched her go again, but this time felt different. This time he'd actually been there when she needed him, even if not in the way either of them expected. This time he'd kept a promise. He walked back to his car slowly. Marcus had already driven it around the corner, away from the emergency vehicles. Elon got in the back seat and sat in the dark, wet and cold and oddly at peace. His phone buzzed. 17 missed calls, 43 emails, 3 urgent messages marked crisis. Elon looked at the phone for a long moment. Then he turned it off completely and closed his eyes. The empire could wait. For once, the empire could wait. 6 months passed. 6 months of Isabel rebuilding, rescheduling, reimagining what the Voices of Tomorrow exhibition could become. The Starlight Gallery needed minor repairs, new wiring, fresh paint, some water-damaged drywall replaced. Insurance covered most of it. The artwork was carefully restored. Professional conservators dried and treated each piece. Some were beyond saving, but most survived. The young artists created new pieces to replace what was lost. If anything, the near disaster made them more determined. Canvas of Hope expanded to 12 cities. Donations poured in after the story of the fire made local news. People wanted to support a program that mattered, that changed lives like Deshaun's. Deshaun himself had become something of a local celebrity. A poor kid from East Austin who'd gotten into art school because a program believed in him. News outlets loved the story. Deshaun handled it with grace, always deflecting attention back to Canvas of Hope and Isabel. "Ms. Isabel saved me," he told reporters. "I'm just trying to make her proud." Isabel kept his sunrise painting in her office, right above her desk. On hard days, she looked at it and remembered why she did this work. Not for recognition or awards. For moments like Deshaun, a life changed, a future opened, hope planted where despair had been. She thought about Elon sometimes, more than she wanted to admit. The image of him standing in the rain, soaked and desperate, telling her she'd changed him. The knowledge that he'd been quietly mentoring Deshaun for months, asking nothing in return. That wasn't the Elon who'd let their marriage die. That was someone different, someone who'd learned something, but learning and changing were two different things. Isabel had learned not to trust promises made in emotional moments. Words were easy, sustained action was hard. Still, on quiet nights, she wondered if he was taking care of himself, wondered if he ever thought about her, wondered if maybe someday they could actually be friends like she'd suggested. The new exhibition date was set for a Saturday in early spring, 6 months and 2 weeks after the fire. This time, Isabel planned everything differently. Better venue insurance, multiple backup power sources, weatherproofed artwork displays. She wasn't taking chances. She also made the guest list more thoughtfully. Every person on it was there because they genuinely supported young artists or Canvas of Hope. No social climbers, no people attending just to be seen. Only those who cared about the mission. On Thursday afternoon, 2 days before the rescheduled exhibition, Priya poked her head into Isabel's office. "Someone's here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important." "Who is it?" Priya's expression was carefully neutral. "Deshaun." Isabel smiled. "Send him in, he never needs an appointment." But when Deshaun entered, he wasn't alone. Behind him, looking uncertain and out of place in his hoodie and jeans, was Elon. Isabel's breath caught. She hadn't seen him since that rainy night 6 months ago. He looked different, thinner, tired, but somehow more present. His eyes were clearer. Less of that distant, always thinking about something else look. "Ms. Isabel," Deshaun's enthusiasm broke the awkward moment. "I hope it's okay I brought Mr. Elon. He's been helping me with something, and we need to show you." "Of course it's okay." Isabel stood, smoothing her shirt nervously. "Hi, Elon." "Hi, Izzy." His voice was soft, careful. "You look good, healthy." "Thanks, so do you." It was partially true. He looked tired but more grounded somehow. "Should I leave?" Elon asked. "I don't want to intrude," Deshawn just insisted. "No, stay." Isabel surprised herself by meaning it. "What did you want to show me?" Deshawn grinned and pulled out his phone. "So, remember how the fire messed up some of the artwork, and some pieces couldn't be restored?" "Yes." Isabel's heart sank slightly. "Those losses still hurt." "Well, Mr. Elon had this idea. Tell her, Mr. Elon." Elon looked embarrassed. "It wasn't just my idea. We worked on it together." "But you thought of it first." "What idea?" Isabel asked. Elon pulled out a tablet and opened a presentation. "After the fire, I kept thinking about those lost pieces, about how those kids' work was gone, and I thought, what if we created a digital archive? A permanent online gallery where every piece of art from Canvas of Hope gets photographed, cataloged, and preserved forever. Even if the physical piece is destroyed, the digital record remains." He swiped through images, a professional website with beautiful layouts, high-resolution photos of artwork, artist statements, stories from the kids about what creating the piece meant to them. "We've already started," Deshawn added excitedly. "Mr. Elon hired photographers and web designers. We've documented over 300 pieces so far. And we're creating an app where people can take virtual tour of past exhibitions, read artist stories, even buy prints with proceeds going back to Canvas of Hope." Isabel stared at the screen, scrolling through page after page of carefully preserved art. Kids she'd worked with years ago, pieces she'd forgotten about, stories she hadn't heard, all documented, celebrated, made permanent. She couldn't find words. "This is incredible." "There's more," Elon said quietly. "I've set up an endowment, enough to fund Canvas of Hope indefinitely. Salaries, supplies, buses, everything. So you never have to worry about funding again. So the program continues no matter what." Isabel looked up sharply. "Elon, that's too much." "It's not enough. It'll never be enough to repay what you've built, what you've given to kids like Deshawn." He glanced at the teenager who was beaming with pride. "But maybe it helps. Maybe it means Canvas of Hope can reach even more kids." "How much?" Isabel started. "Doesn't matter. What matters is the work continues. That's what you taught me. The work that matters is the work that changes individual lives, not the flashy stuff. The quiet, consistent, showing up everyday stuff." Isabel felt tears prickling her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept it. Say you'll let me support this work even if I'm not part of your life anymore. Please." Deshawn looked between them, sensing deeper currents. "I'm gonna go look at Ms. Isabel's art wall. Give you guys a minute." He left the office, closing the door gently behind him. Isabel and Elon stood in the sudden silence, years of history heavy between them. "Why?" Isabel asked. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you were right about everything, about what matters, about priorities, about the kind of life worth living." Elon sat down heavily in the chair across from her desk. "After the fire, after you walked away, I went home and sat in the dark for hours. Just sat there thinking. Elon, I realized something. I've spent my whole life trying to change humanity's future. Colonies on Mars, sustainable energy, electric vehicles, big, world-changing stuff. And it's all important. I still believe in those missions." He looked up at her. "But I forgot about changing individual lives, about showing up for people, about being present in the moment instead of always chasing the next thing." "You learned that from one night?" Isabel's voice was skeptical but gentle. "I learned it from 3 years with you. I just wasn't listening. That night just made me finally hear it." He leaned forward. "Deshawn came back to me a week after the fire, asked if I'd really keep mentoring him or if I was too busy. And I almost said yes, I was too busy, my automatic response. But then I thought, what would Izzy do?" Despite everything, Isabel smiled slightly. "What would I do?" "You'd show up, you'd make time. You'd prioritize the human in front of you over the abstract mission in your head. So that's what I did. I cleared my schedule once a week for Deshawn. Really cleared it, not just penciled him in between meetings. And you know what? The companies didn't collapse. The projects didn't fail. Turns out the world keeps spinning even when I'm not working 18-hour days." I'm glad you figured that out. I've been making changes, delegating more, trusting my teams, actually taking weekends off sometimes. And I kept thinking, I wish Izzy could see this. I wish she could know I finally learned the lesson. Isabel's throat felt tight. I see it, I believe you've changed. But, Elon heard the unspoken word. But changing doesn't undo what happened, doesn't erase the years of hurt, doesn't bring back the baby we lost or the marriage that died. I know, his voice was heavy with acceptance. I'm not telling you this because I think we can go back. We can't, I know that. I'm telling you because you deserve to know that your life mattered, that our time together mattered, that you changed me in ways that will ripple out for the rest of my life. A tear escaped down Isabel's cheek. She wiped it away quickly. That's a beautiful thing to say. It's the truth. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared past settling around them like a familiar blanket, warm but heavy. Saturday's the big night, Elon said finally. The rescheduled exhibition. I'm on the guest list this time. Isabel's eyes widened. You are. Deshawn insisted, said I was part of the Canvas of Hope family now, if you want me removed. No, the word came out before Isabel fully processed it. No, you should come. You helped save it after all. I'd like that to see what you've built, to celebrate these kids properly. He stood to leave. And Izzy, I promise I'll just be a guest. I won't make it awkward, won't try to talk to you unless you want to talk. This night is about the artists, about your work, not about us. Thank you. Elon nodded and headed for the door. His hand was on the handle when Isabel spoke again. Elon. He turned, yeah. Would you want to get coffee? Sometime. Not this week, I'm too busy with the exhibition, but after, just to talk as friends. Something lit up in Elon's eyes. Not hope for reconciliation, something gentler, just genuine pleasure at the offer. I'd really like that. Okay, I'll text you. I'll be waiting. He left and Isabel sat back in her chair, feeling lighter somehow. The past was still heavy. The hurt was still real. But maybe, just maybe, they could build something new from the ruins. Not romance, just respect, connection. The acknowledgement that they'd both grown and changed and survived. Deshawn poked his head back in. Everything okay? Yeah, Isabel smiled. Everything's okay. More than okay. That digital archive, Deshawn, that's going to change everything for Canvas of Hope. Mr. Elon said you taught him that preserving things matters. That art is how we remember who we are. I said that. According to him, you said lots of wise stuff. He talks about you sometimes when we're working. Not in a weird way, in a grateful way. Like you're the teacher who changed his life. Isabel's heart squeezed. He changed mine too, just not in the ways either of us expected. Saturday arrived clear and beautiful. Spring sunshine poured through the Starlight Gallery's renovated windows. The artwork looked stunning. Professional lighting, perfect spacing, each piece given room to breathe and speak. The young artists arrived early, nervous and excited in their best clothes. Some had never owned formal wear before. Canvas of Hope had helped them get outfits for the occasion. Isabel walked through the gallery one last time before doors opened, checking every detail. Everything was perfect. Better than perfect. This exhibition had been forged in crisis and rebuilt with determination. It meant more because of what they'd survived to create it. Ms. Chen, Ms. Cordova appeared, same stern expression as always. Guests are arriving. Are you ready? Ready. The doors opened. People streamed in, collectors, art lovers, community leaders, families of the young artists. The gallery filled with conversation and laughter, and the sweet sound of people appreciating creativity. Isabel moved through the crowd, introducing artists to potential patrons, explaining techniques, telling stories about the kids' journeys. This was her favorite part, watching these young people shine, seeing them realize their work mattered. She didn't see Elon arrive, didn't notice him enter quietly and position himself at the back of the gallery, staying out of the way like he'd promised. For an hour, he just watched Isabel in her element, passionate, engaged, lighting up every person she talked to. Watched the young artists gain confidence as people admired their work. Watched Canvas of Hope's impact made visible in paint and canvas and sculpture. Deshawn found him. You came. Of course, I promised. Come see my piece. It's in the center gallery. Elon followed Deshawn to a large canvas, an abstract piece in blues and golds, complex and sophisticated. Nothing like the crude rocket ship from years ago. This was the work of someone who'd studied, practiced, found their voice. Deshawn, this is extraordinary. The teenager grinned. Ms. Isabel says I've developed my own style, says collectors are already interested in my work. Can you believe it? Me, a kid from East Austin whose dad said I'd never be anything. I believe it, I always believed it. They stood looking at the painting together, teacher and student, connected by the woman who taught them both that dreams mattered. Across the gallery, Isabel finally spotted Elon. He was looking at Deshawn's painting, his whole face soft with pride and wonder. As if sensing her gaze, he looked up. Their eyes met. Isabel smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. Elon smiled back, just as genuine, just as warm, no longing, no regret. Just two people who'd loved each other once, who'd hurt each other, who'd grown separately and somehow found their way to something that looked like peace. The exhibition was a massive success. 3 major publications covered it. 12 pieces sold that night, with proceeds funding Canvas of Hope's expansion. 5 more artists got scholarship offers. When the last guest left and the gallery finally emptied, Isabel found herself alone with Priya, both of them exhausted and triumphant. You did it, Priya said. After everything, the fire, the delays, all of it, you actually did it. We did it, Isabel corrected. All of us, the kids, the staff, even, she paused. Even Elon, his digital archive, his endowment, that matters. He's not so bad, Priya admitted, for a billionaire. Isabel laughed. No, he's not so bad. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, though she recognized it immediately. Thank you for letting me be there tonight. What you've built is incredible. What you are is incredible. Coffee next week. No pressure if you're not ready. E. Isabel stared at the message for a long moment. 3 years ago, she'd never wanted to see Elon Musk again, had wanted to erase him from her life like he'd never existed. But people weren't binary. Relationships weren't simple. You could be hurt by someone and still recognize their growth, could move on but still care, could close one door while carefully, cautiously opening another. She typed back, coffee sounds good, Tuesday at 2, there's a place near my office. The response came seconds later, I'll be there, thank you, Izzy. Isabel put her phone away and looked around the now empty gallery. Deshawn's sunrise painting hung on the wall, still hopeful, still bright. Some stories didn't have neat endings. Some relationships didn't fit into tidy categories. Some people hurt you and taught you and changed you all at once, and you had to figure out what to do with all of that complexity. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the messy middle, the uncertain territory between love and friendship, hurt and healing, maybe that was where real growth happened. Isabel turned off the gallery lights and stepped out into the spring evening. Tomorrow she'd start planning Canvas of Hope's next expansion. Tuesday she'd have coffee with her ex-husband. Next month she'd attend Deshawn's first solo show. Life would continue, complicated, imperfect, beautiful. And for the first time in 3 years, Isabel felt truly at peace with that. Tuesday afternoon arrived with bright sunshine and nervous energy. Isabel changed her outfit twice before settling on jeans and a comfortable sweater, the same kind of casual she'd worn on their first real date all those years ago. She arrived at the coffee shop 5 minutes early. It was a small place near her office, nothing fancy. Local art on the walls, mismatched furniture. The kind of place where you came for the atmosphere, not the Instagram photos. Elon was already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups in front of him. He stood when he saw her, looking uncertain. I wasn't sure what you'd want, so I got you a vanilla latte. That used to be your favorite, but maybe it's changed. It hasn't changed, Isabel said softly, taking the cup. Thank you. They sat down across from each other. For a moment, neither spoke. The years between them felt like an ocean too wide to cross but narrow enough to see across clearly. So, Elon started. So, Isabel echoed. Then they both laughed, awkward, nervous, but real. This is strange, Isabel admitted. Very strange. Good strange, though. Yeah, good strange. They talked for 2 hours. Not about the past, that was too heavy, too complicated for a first coffee. They talked about their work instead. Isabel described Canvas of Hope's expansion plans. Elon talked about his companies, but differently now. He talked about the people, not just the projects, the engineers solving impossible problems, the teams working together, the human element he'd overlooked for so long. "You sound different when you talk about work now," Isabel observed. "I think about it differently. You taught me that companies are just collections of people. If you forget the people, you've forgotten everything." "I'm glad you learned that." "Me too, even if it took losing you to figure it out." The words hung between them, honest, painful, but not desperate, just acknowledgement. As they were leaving, Elon walked Isabel to her car. "Can we do this again?" he asked. "Not as a date, just as, whatever this is." "Friends having coffee?" "Yeah, that." Isabel smiled. "I'd like that." Over the following months, coffee became a regular thing. Every few weeks, they'd meet at the same small shop and talk. Sometimes Deshawn joined them. Sometimes it was just the two of them. They learned each other again, not as husband and wife, but as two people who'd survived something hard and come out changed. They laughed more easily. The silences weren't uncomfortable anymore. Isabel started dating someone, a kind man named Marcus who taught history at the local high school. Elon was happy for her. Genuinely happy. He even met Marcus once, shook his hand, told him to take care of her. "That must have been weird," Priya said when Isabel told her. "It was, but also okay. We're not those people anymore, the ones who were married. We're different now." A year after the rescheduled exhibition, Canvas of Hope held a gala fundraiser. Deshawn was the featured artist, his work commanding serious prices from serious collectors. During his speech, Deshawn looked directly at Isabel and Elon, sitting at separate tables. "I'm here because two people believed in me when I was nobody. Ms. Isabel showed me that art could save my life. Mr. Elon showed me that dreams were worth protecting. Together, they taught me that broken things can heal into something new. Something different, but still beautiful." The audience applauded. Isabel wiped her eyes. Across the room, Elon did the same. After the gala, they found themselves standing outside in the warm night air. "He's something special," Elon said. "He really is. You did good mentoring him." "We both did. Different ways, same result. A kid who knows he matters." Isabel looked at the man standing beside her, once her husband, now her friend, still someone who understood parts of her that no one else could. "Thank you," she said suddenly. "For what?" "For growing, for learning, for showing me that people can change even when it's too late to fix what broke. It helps somehow, knowing the pain led somewhere good." Elon nodded slowly. "Thank you for teaching me how to be human again, even if I learned it too late for us." "Not too late for Deshawn. Not too late for all the other kids you'll help now. Not too late for you." They stood in comfortable silence, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Some love stories end with happily ever after. Others end with goodbye forever. This one ended somewhere in between, with two people who'd loved deeply, hurt badly, and found their way to something that looked like peace. Not romance, not bitterness, just respect, gratitude, and the quiet acknowledgement that they'd both become better people for having known each other, even if they couldn't be together. Sometimes that was enough. So where are you watching this from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Let's spread kindness and powerful stories together. And don't go anywhere. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another incredible story that will move you. See you in the next one.